Okay, so this episode requires a content warning. The episode we are about to review involves the topic of suicide and or suicidal thoughts. So if this is a sensitive topic for you, you might want to skip this video. And I can't think of a good way to segue between that and the intro, so screw it, let's jump in from there. Hi, I'm Torin, and welcome to Torin Loves the Simpsons. Today, we are looking at Season 1, Episode 3, Homer's Odyssey. An episode where Homer loses his job at the nuclear plant and is about to attempt suicide when he saves his family from an oncoming vehicle on the street, prompting him to go on a public safety campaign, which leads to him getting hired back at the nuclear plant as a safety inspector. Let's start with the humor. We get a very strong start with Bart's class going on a field trip to the nuclear plant. The entire intro/bus ride scene is so well paced, with several B+ to A jokes. I particularly love how much Bart leans into having to sing for the class, and the toxic waste plant employees and prisoners waving at the school bus is so charming. It's a little weird hearing Miss Krabappel, Sherry, and Terry calling Bart by his full name so much. It's also kind of necessary for setting the stage since we're so early on in the series that the writers couldn't rely on the audience's prior knowledge of who Bart is. I love the video Smithers shows the kids about nuclear energy. I'm overall generally a proponent of nuclear energy, but there are certainly downsides to nuclear, such as the extremely long life of its waste products that bear discussion, and I love how this video satirizes how much those downsides are often downplayed, because it's important to talk about those downsides of even things we're in favor of so we can try to rectify or mitigate them as best we can. That video gets an A. I love how Sherry and Terry insulting Homer goes right over Bart's head. A-. In the last episode, we had a classic joke in the Quidgy scene, and this episode hits us with another classic. I'm no supervising technician, I'm a technical supervisor. It's quite possibly one of the most memorable quotes of the series. It's wild how many classic jokes are coming from so early on. S-. I love how Marge just casually mentions, "You've caused plenty of industrial accidents," as part of cheering up Homer. Especially because it works so well. It's a great example of how Season 1 can hit you with a joke that you don't even realize is a joke if you're not paying attention. A-. Homer's lack of self-awareness when he laments, "I'm just a technical supervisor who cared too much," just tickles me. B+. Oh look, it's the first Mo prank call. It's nothing special, but it's the beginning of something great. B-. But here's where the episode starts to lose me. I don't think a primetime TV episode is an appropriate forum to discuss a suicide attempt, at least without a content warning, or a viewer discretion message, which was the style at the time. We're focusing on the humor at the moment, and the Winfields laughing at Homer trying to kill himself is cruel-hearted and rather not funny. E-. Wow, we're seeing an E-tier joke before a D-tier joke. I wasn't expecting that. Homer's joke about live and learn when he finds a boulder at the bridge gets a C, I guess. It's not really a joke about suicide, so it's okay enough. Killing myself is the last thing I'd ever do is witty enough to pull itself up to a D+, which is the absolute highest I'm willing to rate a joke about suicide, a very not funny topic. El Barto is a nice moment, and I think probably the best way they could have rebounded from the severe dip we just took. B+. And Homer getting cut off by the city council during his speech is alright, I guess. B-. The crowd booing Homer over the 15-mile-per-hour speed limit on Main Street is great. A. The callback to the technical supervisor/supervising technician joke is quite nice. A-. It might be unfair to include something reminiscent of a future episode, but when Homer is up on Burns' balcony and the crowd is cheering, "Homer, Homer, Homer," it reminds me of the chanting from the Indigenous Islanders during the King Homer segment of Treehouse of Horror 3. And not to spoil that very distant future video or anything, but let's just say that's a positive association in my mind. I absolutely adore the delivery by Harry Shearer when Burns says, "You're not as stupid as you look." Or sound. Or our best testing indicates. That gets an S-. And that's about it for jokes. In case I haven't made myself clear, I very much don't approve of the jokes about suicide, and that really hurts this episode's rating. It's unfortunate, too, because when this episode is strong, I think it tops both the previous 2 episodes. But this episode has some pretty low moments, and the previous 2 are consistently pretty strong. I'm really not quite sure where exactly to place it, but I think B- feels right because of how strong the strong parts are. As with the previous episode, it certainly helps that the best parts are at the beginning and end. And now for the plot. Let's start with the things I like, because there actually are some of those. Well, a couple of those. They really nailed the dynamics between Bart, Miss Krabappel, and Otto right away, and that's cool to see. I also love that Blinky makes an appearance. It helps set up for 2 cars in every garage and 3 eyes on every fish next season. And also helps kick off the overall characterization of the plant and its employees as a major hazard to society. And as with the Simpsons roasting on an open fire, I really like this characterization of Homer. In this case, I have a lot of respect for him standing up to Burns and refusing to tell the crowd this plant is safe. We're not going to see a whole lot more of Homer taking moral stances as we move past season 1, so let's enjoy it while we got it. They start to make an apt commentary on alcoholism and the way big businesses try to take advantage of people while they're down when Homer sees the Duff commercial and swipes Bart's piggy bank. I feel like there maybe could have been a much better version of this episode that explores that more deeply rather than going with the suicide stuff, because of course that's what we gotta discuss now. I'm torn on how the episode takes such an abrupt turn from lighthearted to heavy. It feels realistic, which I think would have been more appropriate if the episode felt more like a drama, like the previous episode does. But this episode definitely feels more like a sitcom than a drama, and I don't think this shift makes for a good sitcom episode. So really, it feels like this episode doesn't know if it's trying to be a sitcom or a drama, and that hurts both the humor and the plot. Really, for a sitcom plot, I think they should have left the suicide stuff out completely. I think it would have worked much better if, say, Homer drunkenly stumbled away from the house and that led the family to go searching for him, and maybe he slept off much of the alcohol in a ditch or something, so that it makes sense that he'd be quick and clear-headed enough to save his family from traffic. Then the episode could have made a point about alcoholism without it getting overshadowed by the suicide stuff. I'm also not much a fan of a lot of the other characterizations in the episode. Marge, Mr. Burns, and Smithers are close enough to their post-season 1 characterizations, and like I said earlier, the Bart Edna and Bart Otto dynamics are spot on. But outside that, a lot of the characterizations are pretty off. Including Bart outside the school setting, you never see him give a hoot about public safety later on. And Lisa asking, "What, Dad?" in response to Homer alluding to the power plant towards the end just feels so off. Later on, she would absolutely be able to read between the lines. Not to mention the fact that later on, she would absolutely be the one leading this campaign instead of Homer. Overall, especially given the fact that I came up with a perfectly cromulent rewrite idea in about 1.5 minutes in the middle of writing this script, I really can't give this episode a terribly favorable plot rating. I'm giving it a C-. This episode also has some very rough animation, including Black Smithers, which Matt Groening says was an animation mistake that they couldn't afford to fix, so they had to just roll with it. But look at some of these rough animation moments. I do kind of like this character model, though. I feel like it might have gotten reused later on, but I can't think of an example. And now for the final rating. Humor got a B-, and plot got a C-. And like I said earlier, I think the fact that this episode doesn't know if it's a sitcom or a drama hurts both the humor and the plot, and that makes the episode feel like less than the sum of its parts, so to speak. I'm kind of torn between giving this episode a C and a C-, but I'm going with C. I actually personally enjoy the episode mostly on par with a B or B- episode, because I've been watching this episode since I was a kid. I got season 1 on DVD when I was 8, so I'm pretty desensitized to it, but it definitely hurts the episode that I'd be uncomfortable with showing it to most of my friends and family. My fellow YouTuber, The Real Jims, in his season 1 top 10 list, called for someone to explain to him why Homer's Odyssey is the best thing ever, and, well, I think I made as strong a case for the episode as you possibly can. It does have a number of great jokes in it that I think at least justify the episode's existence, and I'm not quite sure yet, but I don't know if I would place it as my least favorite of the season. As always, thank you for watching. Hit up the comments and let me know what you think about this episode, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for notifications. Up next, we have There Is No Disgrace Like Home, so I will see you in that video.